Hello and welcome to episode 125 of the Tourpreneur podcast. Today we are joined by Theresa Nemetz of Milwaukee Food Tours. Hello, Theresa.
Hello.
Welcome back. Good to see you.
Thank you.
And Jeremiah Calvino of Blend Marketing. How are you, Jeremiah?
Morning, Shane. Good.
So really excited to talk with you both today. My email box, like most of our email right now, is pretty much hammered with depressing emails during the pandemic. There's not a lot of good news out there. And then one morning I wake up and I had an email from Theresa, very excited, telling us that you had sold out 1,000 Advent boxes in one weekend. And that with Jeremiah's help, and we'll get into that in a moment, you had spent $3,000 on Facebook ads, which resulted in $138,000 in sales in 48 hours.
I know, it is truly our Christmas miracle. We have been so excited. I feel like we have been building for months to plan for this. And then everything that we laid out actually has come true and has happened.
So how did the Christmas boxes idea come about exactly?
Well, as we started doing our pivot of offering gift boxes, I really started thinking a lot about Christmas and how Christmas, we probably were still going to be dealing with the pandemic. And a lot of people haven't been willing to talk about that. But I started planning in June already for what we could do for Christmas. And I know in Milwaukee, we are a very German city and community, and we love advent calendars. And so I really started looking at how could we pull that off. And from there, I had to create an entirely new product that I think looks very professional and was really a compelling product. People wanted it.
I have to say, my idea of an advent calendar and yours are very, very different. I
Yes.
actually watched, and if you'd asked me this before, I wouldn't have said it worked, but it did. I watched a 10-minute unboxing video of one of your friends and her wonderful family opening up the advent calendar. Now, I'm used to these little advent calendars that got a tiny little bit of cheap, horrible chocolate in, but these are like
Yeah.
fudge bars. And
Yes,
this
and
is,
that's exactly right, because people assume, they think about that $5 advent calendar, but now the trend in the culinary world is these really high-end premium gift boxes. And so that's what we designed. And, it's not a cheap product, it's $139, but it's really a unique product that people can enjoy every single day.
absolutely. Jeremiah, so you were hired by Theresa's food tour company to build the website and do some of the marketing, etc. Then suddenly you get this phone call or email from Theresa saying, hey, I want you to help me sell Advent boxes. What was your reaction to that?
Yeah, well, I think that this backs up. Theresa has been doing these boxes throughout the year, and that was really a key to the success, both I think from an operational standpoint on her end, and being able to do all the planning and understanding what goes into it, but also from a marketing standpoint, the store was set up. One of my favorite collaborations is Theresa did a collaboration with the Wisconsin State Fair this summer.
Mhm.
And so, we've had a number of kind of smaller, but, really positive successes selling different theme boxes. And from a tech standpoint, we had that stack dialed in before this box came along. The other thing from a marketing standpoint and from kind of a Facebook advertising type standpoint is that we had customer lists with meaningful amounts of people on them. And so both marketing to past customers and past people who had visited the website, but kind of abandoned cart, as well as building lookalikes off of those customer lists. When this box went live, we had a lot kind of dry powder that we were able to put behind it and get that success really quickly.
But I have to pay you a big compliment here because you've pivoted yourself here, Jeremiah, from being a marketing agency that works with tours and activities to marketing food boxes and advent boxes. That's a big jump, right?
There's certainly differences. I think that Theresa knows her customers really well. And that hasn't shifted a lot. Really, if you look at the people who are buying these boxes, they're for a large part the same people who have been going on her tours for a long time. Not the same people by name, but the same demographic, right? And we've been working with the Milwaukee Food Tours for a number of years, and so we know that audience pretty well, and e-commerce. But yeah, there's definitely some unique elements to e-commerce. One of those is Theresa talked about the Advent box, but she's actually has like 50, not 50, but it seems like it. She has a lot of different boxes. And I'll let her go through the inventory of them. But, we're not just selling sort of one experience. There's many different boxes that we're selling throughout the holiday season.
Absolutely. I have to say, Theresa, that I almost got lynched here in the state of Vermont because I ordered one of your boxes in the summer and I got caught eating Wisconsin cheese here in Vermont. That's a cardinal sin. You can get kicked out for that.
Yeah, but if it's delicious, you have to eat it. It's okay.
Absolutely. No, I shared it out and said, look, you have to broaden your mind, Vermonters. There are other cheeses out there.
Yeah. I think the big thing with the boxes was really, kind of dialing into what people want and really going to those iconic things. But then I think even this weekend when we had the promotion, we realized that people have feedback about price points, right? And so sometimes people were saying $139 is too expensive. And we are immediately commenting and directing them to other boxes. And then actually in a post that we had done and we put some ad spend behind it, I was wearing a t-shirt that I had with the state of Wisconsin on it. And suddenly people were freaking out about the t-shirt and they wanted this t-shirt. So we ended up, my friend actually helped me to get it online. And we've already sold over $2,000 worth of t-shirts, which we don't even sell t-shirts, but people wanted the t-shirt. And so we just turned it around and we created a t-shirt because that's what people wanted. So I think that's really been what our success has always been: listen to what people want and give it to them.
Why do you think they were so excited about the t-shirt? Because I've seen other tour operators who try and sell apparel and with not a great deal of success. What do you think it was about your t-shirts that made them sell like hotcakes then?
I have no idea. It's a beautiful shirt with the state of Wisconsin on it, and then it says girl. So Wisconsin girl. And so it just spoke to people. And I think that we had ad spend behind it. And then as soon as one person talked about it, the next person talked about it.
Yeah.
And, Jeremiah was really managing the campaign last weekend and he saw all the comments that people were saying. So.
You say that you have a feel for what your customers want, but obviously with this kind of return from your campaigns, you are selling to people that you don't know. How do you go about putting the right elements into the Advent box?
Well, we really just looked at what would we want and what would our customers want, and then we built it around that with the belief that others that would be in a lookalike audience would like that as well. So that was really how we created it. And like you said, if you're in Vermont, you have to have Vermont cheese. Well, if you're in Wisconsin, you have to have these other items. And so we just created exactly that.
Okay, so in terms of the purchasers, your customers, are they all in Wisconsin? Are they people who have family from Wisconsin? Who's buying the boxes? Because it's going nationwide, correct?
Yeah, they shouldn't ship nationwide. I think Jeremiah really can talk about exactly who is purchasing them. But I know that we are shipping to, I didn't add it up, but probably about 40 different states.
Wow.
So people are buying it, but then sending it to people. I know we just shipped one yesterday to Hawaii and two to Alaska. So.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I actually have a live customer list up just of orders this morning, and it's like Wisconsin, Illinois, Nebraska, Florida, Virginia, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Colorado, Florida. So, in Shopify, you can see the purchaser and the ship to, and the vast majority of the purchasers are coming from Wisconsin, but they're shipping it to friends and family all over the country.
So in terms of your Facebook ads, are you marketing just Wisconsin or outside of that?
Yeah, so we've got a couple of different things. If you're familiar with Midwestern geography, Milwaukee is just north of Chicago in Illinois. And so that's definitely a target market for us as well. So we're, Facebook has some interesting options. We started with a lookalike audience and said, okay, well, of all the people who've bought, one of the State Fair boxes or one of the Mother's Day boxes or other boxes this year, let's create a lookalike audience off of that. And every lookalike audience that anyone who's listening to this creates in the United States will have the exact same number of people on it. You'll have 2.4 million people on that lookalike audience. When we added Wisconsin to it, that number dropped from 2.4 million to 2 million. Okay, so what Facebook is telling us is that 2 million out of the 2.4 million of our kind of likely customers already live in Wisconsin. So for the most part, we aren't restricting it to Wisconsin, but by using that lookalike audience, it heavily weights it towards Wisconsinites and people who have an affinity for Wisconsin for whatever reason, and look like Wisconsinites to Facebook are seeing those ads as well.
Well, I think you really hit on something. I've been sending out gift baskets here from Vermont, and I deliberately chose a local Vermont farm that do these lovely gift boxes because I want to help a local business during this really tough time. And when I'm sending out gift boxes to customers, for instance, friends, I want them to have a taste of Vermont. So it's hitting, those right notes, isn't it? Wanting to support a local business rather than just, I'll send you an Amazon gift voucher or something off Amazon. And also something from your own state, I think is really important.
Well, and advent calendar has 24 different items in it. So each day leading up to Christmas, you open up a little door and then get out these items. And so not only does it support 24 different small businesses, but there's all these other small businesses, right? There's the custom box manufacturer, there's Blend that's getting paid money, there's me that's getting paid money, there's our delivery drivers and the delivery company. So there's all these other businesses. So we're really saying that Advent Box impacts about 30 different small businesses that are Wisconsin companies.
Sure.
So that's really a very compelling story for people. We're hearing from a lot of people really strong feedback about that.
So there's two things that come to mind there, because this all sounds great. And I'm sure a lot of the listeners are like, oh, I'm going to do this for my town or my state. But let's look at some of the challenges. You just mentioned boxes. So, you, I'm sure, had to spend a significant amount of cash because these are just not, basic. These are beautiful looking boxes. How much did that cost to get all the boxes before you'd even sold anything?
So, and that's really, a big challenge for us is because we're not only having to outlay all that money for the boxes, but all the money for all the places as well. I think I spent like $60,000 this week on food alone.
Wow.
So, that is definitely cash flow as we get bigger and bigger with these. With the gift boxes originally, there's really not an Advent box that's made in the United States. And so we were going to have to outsource that from China, but we would have had to place the order in August, and I would have had to pay all that cash upfront in August. And I was so nervous about having, a shipping container brought over by boat and then transferred to Milwaukee. And I just felt like there's so much that could go wrong. I mean, it's 2020, that boat probably could have sunk, so I just didn't want to risk it. And so we found a Wisconsin company and worked really hard with them to design that box. But like you said, I had to pay for that upfront. And so, also with our other boxes, when you get a gift box, if you have just a regular white box or brown box, maybe it's like $1.50 for that physical box. And then if you have something custom that's just got your logo on it, maybe it's like $6 for that box. These advent boxes, it's $12. All in, my cost of that box is $12. So, it escalates the price of the box, but it is what it is. It makes it as part of the package.
I mean, that's heck of a risk, a 60 grand outlay before you've sold anything. And I mean, I know you were confident based on your summer production, but still this is, I mean, how did you deal with that level of risk?
I have been saying prayers, and I've been talking to a lot of vendors and people, and just, really getting the word out. And so, if this didn't work for the public, definitely going to corporate groups was my backup plan, so that we could sell the inventory that way. But what ended up happening is after we sold out 1,000 this weekend, and then I have 1,000 of a different box coming, Well, then Jeremiah and I, we were talking on Sunday night, as this was going down, and he's predicting, I mean, we were selling a box a minute at some point on Sunday. And so as that ticker was going down, he said, you're going to sell out at 6 o'clock. And so what we ended up doing is that we decided let's add more boxes. And so I literally on Sunday night added another 1,000 boxes.
Wow.
And so now we're going to sell 3,000 boxes, and I don't have anywhere to store them after December 25th. So we're going to sell them all.
For those who are watching us on YouTube, I have to say, you two are looking remarkably fresh, because I can't imagine you're getting any sleep here.
Monday, I was like a wreck over this, and Jeremiah is probably very calm, and I didn't realize how intense it would be. And so I was very thankful, because I could have never done what Blend is doing, right? There's no way I would have understood how to be watching these parameters. And so really the stress was on him, because he had to pull the triggers and make the ads work and be watching. I just had to be prepared to ship them all. And so,
Well, I can't fathom the operational side of this. There is a ballroom in Milwaukee filled with
15
raspberries and chocolate and
yes, 15 pallets of cardboard.
Wow.
right. So I can't even fathom that. But on our end, it's really is important to watch this really closely. And it's not me. I mean, it's crazy. Our team uses Slack, like a chat system. And so all through the weekend, Matt, our creative director, hey, I need you to Photoshop a new box design. And Lucas is making updates to the website, and Brian is setting up new web pages. And so our whole team is kind of working through the weekend and making updates and watching numbers and adjusting ads. And, in normal times, you can kind of set and forget and let things run. If you're selling a tour and it opens in May and it closes in October, and it's the Pizza Bus tour, like we do a little tweaking here and there. But with this kind of thing, just with the seasonality of it, and obviously a very compressed timetable you can't sell Advent boxes after December 1st, right? So it really took a lot of coordination and moving quickly to bring this together.
So let me ask you this, because like you say, tours are very different from the Advent boxes. What were some of your most successful ads that you were running? What did they look like?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of keys to success there. One is, again, pre-planning. I don't know, I feel like, Theresa, you sent us this stuff maybe 6-8 weeks ago. We did a big photo shoot, and it took a day and there's a lot of different boxes, which you should talk about, Theresa, because there's some really cool things that she's doing to tie in with international tours and the kind of the tour side of the business, and different add-ons that are being sold and things. So there's quite a few boxes, but we did a lot of photography work earlier in the fall, and a lot of photoshopping and staging and creating those ads. Another piece of it, though, that was really, really important, and I would say the key driver is Theresa. This has been a personal brand. She stands behind her products. People know her. She's on the news, and I think we're on the news this morning.
Oh,
Yes,
really?
it's been an early morning for Theresa. And so we used photos of her just in her Wisconsin girl shirt, holding the box, and that I think that we were running an ad of her in her Wisconsin girl shirt holding that Advent box. We showed it to 200,000 people, and 30,000 of them clicked on it, which that kind of click-through rate is really phenomenal. And again, though, part of that success is having the audience really dialed in. We didn't have any age or gender restrictions on our ad sets, so we're just telling Facebook, show it to everyone. But because of those lookalikes, 93% of the impressions went to women, and it was over 70% of the purchases were women between the ages of 35 and 65. So, Facebook knows who that audience is and who's going to respond to those messages. The other thing, and this is like pro tip that's super, super huge, is on Facebook particular, and other platforms this isn't quite as impactful, but on Facebook, as you start aggregating social proof onto a post, your click-through rate and conversion rate increase significantly. And so that post of Theresa holding the box, I think has 2,000 likes and hundreds of shares, and it had a huge amount of engagement and people commenting on that post. Theresa and I all day long were responding to people, liking comments that they made, replying to questions. So this whole little community almost forms inside that post. And again, just over a couple of days, we showed that to hundreds of thousands of people. And so, a little bit of insider baseball, but as you have different ad sets running inside of Facebook and stuff, we make sure to duplicate the ads in a way that, so if you edit a post in any way, if you change one jot or tittle in a post, you lose all of the likes, shares, and comments on that post. And so we duplicated that ad into a lot of different ad sets, but didn't edit it so that all of that social engagement would stay there, which is a really just strong cue to people that, oh, hey, like this, a lot of people like this thing. I should check it out too.
That's a ninja tip right there.
With the social cues, I think one thing that's interesting is that when we were watching the numbers rise, Jeremiah was like, the demographic wasn't exactly what I think you initially planned on, because we had such a high amount of older women that were purchasing it. But the video that had been the unboxing video was actually a friend of mine that's much younger, and she had 3 little children. And I said, no, this for me is my demographic, because everyone that was watching it was thinking about their daughter opening that gift box with their children. And that's what Christmas is about. And so for me, I felt like it was a slam dunk in terms of getting that right person to watch that video and envision themselves doing that on Christmas.
I love that video. I love it.
It was
Just
cool. It was
seeing,
cool.
I mean, just seeing
Now
her.
we're going to try to do some more. So we'll
Yes.
see.
Well, I think just, for me, it was the way the kids reacted to each date being opened. And I think your friend said, oh, we're going to open all 31 today or whatever. And the kids' eyes were like, whoa, really is Christmas already.
And
like
with
that.
kids, we didn't want to do it live because, her youngest one is 5 years old, and there's just such an uncontrollable factor with that. He was not even supposed to be in the video, and then he walked in at the last minute, and she's like, okay, let's do this. And that was all one shot.
Wow.
Like, we didn't start or stop or anything. So
fantastic.
But yeah, we do have other gift boxes, like Jeremiah was saying. It's not just about the Advent box. We have 12-day boxes, which are lower price, so $99. We also are doing things like bakery boxes and breakfast boxes and a custard box. And then the cool thing for us is that we're actually adding on, so you can add on a 10-minute call with Santa Claus. And it's something that you can add on to that. And we're also doing a Cuba travel box. And so, we really want to get back to business of traveling, right? And we had gotten back from Cuba the week before the pandemic had hit and really been declared. And it was incredible. And that's really what we want to be back to doing. We want to be offering these international trips again. And so we're testing out the concept of offering a Cuban box, paired with, a workshop to make the recipes that are made with ingredients in it. And actually, one of the ads that we'll be coming up with is going to be, you get the box for free if you sign up for a trip to Cuba.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions for you is, you're obviously generating so much revenue through the food boxes. Do you really think you'll go back to tours after this, or do you become an e-commerce company?
That's an interesting question. I think it would be very hard for me to let go of being a tour operator. I feel like I've been so emotionally invested in it, and I love Milwaukee. But I think it's very hard for me to let go of this amazing new revenue line. And so I'm just going to have to figure out how to do a combination of those two things. And maybe it means public tours aren't going to be offered as strongly, or maybe it means I'm going to focus more on corporate for those tours in Milwaukee. And then, obviously I think that e-commerce is going to be here to stay, especially with our Christmas offerings in the future. Uh, this was really, in my mind, to be entirely honest with you, a test.
Yeah.
And so I'm definitely looking to bring this on a national level next year.
Wow. Very, very exciting.
Yeah,
Very
so I'm
exciting.
excited. And honestly, I couldn't have sold these boxes on my own. I know how to boost a post, I know how to set up a little bit of post, but I mean, I could not believe it when, the team was just sitting there for Blend and they were watching these numbers and tweaking things. I could never do that. So I'm very grateful for having sold these out. And now we're going to try to do it for the next 2 weekends with our other boxes. Right, Jeremiah?
Yeah,
Jeremiah,
Theresa kept telling me I can't have any of this cardboard left.
yeah,
I know.
exactly. Jeremiah, what have you learned about Facebook ads during this campaign that you didn't know before, or what was something that really surprised you?
um, One of the things that happens at scale is that you see how smart Facebook is. And, with tours, you generally, one of the things that's really nice about this e-commerce is that we could sell 1,000 boxes in 2 days, and the delivery date is like sometime in December or something. So Theresa has an opportunity to fill that, fulfill those orders over time. Whereas with tours, a lot of times your inventory is much more restricted. So Facebook has artificial intelligence that optimizes your ad delivery to the people who are most likely to purchase, or whatever your conversion goal is, but typically it's a purchase. But they require 50 conversions per ad set per week. And so, if you think about a tour, just taking one of Theresa's tours, a pizza bus tour, well, she might only have 100 seats on that tour for the whole week, and the average person is 2 or 3. And so it's really hard, actually, to get ad sets. So if you're working with a large attraction, Disneyland or something, you can do that. But oftentimes, even with sort of moderate-sized tour companies, it's difficult to really hit that inflection point where
Mm.
You'll see this little circle go from yellow to green, and Facebook will say, yes, we're optimized. We had 50 conversion events in the past 7 days. We were able to achieve that in 24 to 48 hours to kind of get to that point where Facebook had really honed in on that audience. And so, one of the things I would just encourage people about is if you're looking to use this kind of channel, I mean, there's a lot of keys to success, and I think it really starts with knowing your audience and creating a product that people want. That's the most important thing. But don't overextend yourself. Figure out, how can I? You're much better off, having a single offer that you can put all of your focus into and scale and make work, than spreading yourself thin across a lot of different things. And it becomes very difficult for the algorithms to ever sort of dial into who's the right people to show it. The other thing too is, patience is important. This success was not an overnight success, and even with the ads, there was a lot of tweaking and finessing in the first week or so, and I don't know, some days of $500 or $1,000 of sales, and we saw a ramp up, and it wasn't a overnight sensation. It
Mm-hmm.
took, like a lot of things in life, right? It's like, yeah, you see somebody on America's Got Talent or whatever, this overnight success, and it's like, well, actually, they've been training for 20 years. I think it's the same kind of thing. There's a lot of
Yeah.
preparation, a lot of testing, a lot of iteration that goes into having an overnight success.
Someone said that to me the other day about Joe Rogan. Of course, he moved to Spotify for $100 million. I'm like, you do know he's been on the stage since the 90s, right? It's not like he suddenly woke up with this podcast and it's super popular. So I definitely hear you there. I know that our listeners, some of our listeners will be thinking, wow, fantastic pivot, Theresa. You know, we've seen that word bandied around a lot over the last 9 months or so, and you are proof that operators can pivot. And I imagine a lot of our listeners are like, hey, I want to do that next year, or I want to get into boxes. I don't know where to start. And of course, this is a 30-minute conversation. We can't go into everything, such as logistics and operations. But you are working on a course, correct, for others who may want to follow in your footsteps?
Yeah, after you featured us in the podcast earlier this year, and then after being featured on Arrival, we've had a lot of tour operators reaching out to us. And, just one or two little conversations just hasn't been enough to really get to the meat of everything. And so, what we've done is that I've created a 3 series workshop where basically we dive into pricing, we dive into the product and the packaging. A lot of people have a lot of logistical questions about packaging. Where do you get them? How do you figure this out? And how do you ship them? And then the third one is about promotion,
Yeah.
because it's not just about an ad for Facebook, and it's not just about using your network. It's really a combination of it. And so we've got that workshop where people can just purchase it and then have some time to talk with me and really kind of dial into what they want to do in their own market. I think this is definitely a feasible model, and it definitely has replaced revenue for us. And I know that others can do it. But it's not easy. And, I think it's a matter of really tempering your expectations and really thinking about what can you do. I've rented a ballroom for a lot of money for 6 weeks to be able to do this. I have 15 pallets of cardboard alone, and those are things that I think I'm just trying to be really realistic with people of what that really looks like. Because if you want to sell and really be a player in e-commerce, it really requires you to really put your neck out there.
Absolutely. And that's why I thank you for coming on the show and sharing that today. As regular listeners know, there's a lot of empty suits out there. There's a lot of gurus with false promises about how to generate cash flow and all of this during pivots. And you've been there, you've been in the front lines and on the, in the trenches, both of you doing this, and you've got tremendous success here. I mean, a $3,000 ad spend for almost 140K in sales is absolutely insane. So thank you very much for doing that. And our listeners can get on your waiting list if they go to tourpreneur.com/125. We'll have the link on there. Theresa's website is milwaukeefoodtours.com. And if you want the boxes, it's milwaukeefoodtours.com/Christmas-tours. And I will add all of these into the show notes, which you can find at tourpreneur.com/125, as well as Jeremiah's Blend Marketing website, because if you've learned anything from today's episode is that those guys really know their stuff when it comes to Facebook ads. So if, like me, your head explodes when you go into Facebook Ad Manager and you want to outsource that, Jeremiah is definitely, and his team are definitely people you want to get talking to. And also, Theresa, I want to thank you, because after our last conversation, it was episode 83, and I urge people to go and check that out. You were telling me about your work with Jeremiah and Blend, with your websites and marketing. And our regular listeners will also want to join me in thanking you here, Jeremiah, because we got talking and my website was so slow at tourpreneur.com, right? It was taking 10-second load times, and you worked your magic and you helped me out, Jeremiah. Blend helped me out. And now the website is a much faster loading time and speed and response. So thank you, Theresa, for recommending Jeremiah, because I was pulling my hair out over that.
Yeah, no problem. I think it's all about like knowing who to go to and knowing what your capacity is. I know that I can build boxes. I know that I needed someone to help me to sell it. So
absolutely. Thank you very much for coming on the show. And I wish you both a very happy holiday, a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thanks, Shane. Bye, Theresa.